All right, everyone, welcome to week 10, day one. Today, we're going to be going over project management and launching our personal projects. So in this lesson, we're going to go and actually learn about creating development branches, how those development branches work, and implementing reviewer comments and merging branches. So first, we're going to go ahead and create a repository for our project. I know some of you have already started on your project. We'll address that issue after the class. Not necessarily an issue. We'll address that situation after the class. So now let's go into creating a repository with a README. This is the standard of how it should be done. So let's go over, I'll go over to my GitHub profile. I'll go and I'll create a repository. Hello. And now in this repository, I'm just going to call it project management 2. I'm going to have it be public because I really don't need it to be private. If you guys decide to have yours private, so be it. It's not going to interfere with the class whatsoever. Just make sure that you add people as collaborators. And then I'm going to ensure that it has a README file. So this right here is how I'm going to create a repository. I'm telling it, hey, I'm the owner. This will be the repository name. It's going to be public. And I want it to have a README included whenever I create my project. So now I'll click on create repository. It'll create my repository. We'll see that it's just an empty repo with a README of the title of my branch. Okay. But when it comes to my branches, I only have main. So let's go back here. We went over how to create creating a repo works. And now we're going to go over how to add branch protection rules. So whenever we develop, we don't want anyone to be able to push their code into main without having any review. All right, we want main to be protected to ensure that the quality that's going into our project is good quality. And that every single line of code is actually necessary. So now that we go back to our project, we can go to settings. In settings, we'll see a tab named branches. We can click on branches. And then here we see that it has branch protection rules. And currently, we don't have any. So now we could click on add a branch protection. It's going to ask me for a branch name pattern. And what it means by that, it just means which branch to add this on. So I'm just going to go ahead and put main in there. I'm going to specify that I want main to require a pull request. And then it's going to ask me what the required number of approvals is. Typically, it's going to be 2. But in this case, for efficiency, we're going to go ahead and make it 1. So now when I create a different branch and I try to merge it onto main, I'm not going to be able to do it unless someone else has seen my code and approved it, saying that it's of good quality to actually be able to merge with my main branch. So I'll go ahead and create this protection, and I will see branch protection rules, main is included, and I can edit it or delete it. Does anyone have any questions up to this point?
Are we implementing this for our personal projects, or is this just a general knowledge lesson?
This is to be implemented with your personal projects.
Okay.
Who's gonna check it?
All the TAs and instructors will be checking your guys' pull requests. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Okay, perfect. So now that I created this branch, I can actually go and work off my board. All right, so let's say I get my code, I bring it in, I open up a terminal. Where did you go? There you are. Okay, and in my terminal, I'm just going to go ahead and change directory into my desktop, and then I'm going to clone it. So now I can change directory into project management. And I can open it up in Visual Studio Code. So now it's in Visual Studio Code. And I have direct access to my branches. So now how does this work? Now that I have this branch, I can actually go and start creating some development requirements. And let me organize this a little better. Okay, perfect. So when you go to the Tango chat, there's going to be a personal project board that's pinned to the top of the Tango channel now. And we're going to use this board to actually work off of to create our personal projects. We see that the first board is project 001, create SQL schema and application wireframe. So what is the goal? What is it that we're trying to do? And here we notice that it's due by tomorrow. So it's due soon. And so let's go into how we actually create this. So I will move this over. Currently, I don't have access to it, so I'll need to make a copy of it. And to make a copy, I'll click here. More, copy board. And project. I can create the board. Now we'll see that Trello created this board under my own workspace. I can grab this and I moved it into should be working on. Okay, so now I'm currently working on project 001 and creating my SQL schema and application wireframe. So let's do that. Let's come over here and go to SQL draw. Or drawSQL, I think that's what it's called. And let's see if I have one that I could just use real quick. Okay, so I have this to-do app that has this SQL schema that I could just utilize really quickly. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this schema. And let me see how do I do this. Share. Nope, that ain't it. There you go, file. So then I want to make sure that I can use this file. I'm going to grab it as an image and I can download it. We'll see it populate down here. Okay, great. So now I have my SQL schema for my to-do application that I'm planning on creating. So now I want to add that into my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go into Visual Studios. I'm going to create a new branch and I'm going to name it the same header as the ticket that I'm currently working on. So if I go here, I know that it's currently project-001. And that's what I'm going to name my branch. Now, if I do git branch, we'll see that both main and project-001 were created. I can check out my project, and I could probably learn how to spell checkout. So here we go, project-001. And now that I'm inside here, I can create a markdown file for my SQL schema. Yes. I know, the spelling always gets me. And then, so let's do that. Now that I'm in this branch, I'm actually going to name it Postgres. And I'm going to give it a title of SQL, or actually I do SQU. And I'm purposely making this this error so that we can demonstrate how the review process will work. So now I have my SQL schema and I need to include my image in there. So to include my image in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this image. And that is not how we do it. So I'm going to go over to my project. GitHub that has a special feature that will turn images into I guess a form of code that you can put into your markdown files. So I typically just go into issues, I go into new issue, and then I just drop the image or video that I want to create, and it provides me the link that I want. So then I could just grab that link. I don't want to actually create an issue. Once I have that link, then I can drop my SQL schema. And now if I want to see it in a nice way, it will show my SQL schema inside of my README. Okay, so now I have my SQL schema, and let's say that I'm ready to commit. So I'm going to confirm the branch that I'm currently in. And actually, before I continue moving forward, because I moved pretty fast, does anyone have any questions up to this point?
I do. Will the Trello, when we use that, will we be creating these own milestones ourselves, or are these milestones that you guys have created that which we need to follow?
These milestones are the milestones that we've created for you all to follow. So typically, I remember earlier on in the course, it was asked, hey, where is it that we should start whenever we create our projects and applications? So this is, these are pretty good milestones, and they have a good time frame for each one of them. So for this one, these are just drawings where we want you to create an SQL schema so that you know what your database would look like, and you have a good emphasis on what your relationships will look like, along with the application wireframe. Do we all know what the application wireframe is? Does anyone not know what it is?
I remember we've talked
I
about
do
it. I
not.
don't remember exactly how to do it.
Yeah, so you could either do it through something fancy like Figma, or you could do it through something like TL Draw. So we could go to TL Draw. Oh, hello. Okay. And in TL Draw, this is a whole thing. I can go ahead and make a couple of pages if I need to. And that's not it. Here you go. So let's say I have my home page. I have my user login page. I have what one of my API calls will be. And then I could label them like home. Login. And then tasks. And then after that, I can go ahead and let's say that I'm basically just designing everything through drawings. So what will my home look like? Well, I want my home to be able to have a nav bar. And that nav bar is also going to stretch against all 3 pages. So I'm going to move it over. Nice. Let's say my home has a couple of columns that I would like it to have. And this is what my homepage should look like when I'm almost done with it. And let's say my login page is just a circle, right? And it's I guess my icon. And then I know that I should have a couple of input fields for login and password. And then I can include a tiny button that will submit my form. And then in tasks, I could just have a list of tasks. So I can do this and maybe just have a couple of lines. Okay, it's not liking that for some reason. For what each individual task will look like. It doesn't have to be very detailed nor very pretty. It just has to be a general idea of what you want your application to look like. And this will help you picture both what each page in React should look like, what type of use context should be passed around, what type of views and interactions with the database each page will have, all that good stuff. This is more of the planning process of how you'll go and create your application. And that's what we want in our first ticket. It went by fast. Are we just supposed to copy the board to use? Yes. So you could copy the board and use it. That's what I suggest. Just copy the board and utilize the actual tickets to move them along. That way you have all the deadlines and you get notifications on everything. The link to the board is in Tango on Slack now pinned. Yes, that's correct. It is pinned to the top of the Tango channel. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and keep pushing. I know that I'm in project 001. And now that I have it in 001, I want to go ahead and add whatever changes I have. So if I do get status, I can see what has changed. Well, PostgreSQL MD is created, but it hasn't been added or committed. So let's add it. And when I go to do my commit messages, the standard is that I'll name it the name of the ticket, create a colon, and then I want to name it. So I want to say create SQL schema. Because that's what this branch would do. Once it merges with main, it would create the SQL schema. So I go to commit these changes, and then I push it to project -001. We'll see that everything has been pushed, and I'll open this up so you guys can take a look into it. So we did get status, found out that PostgreSQL hasn't been added. We added that file. We then committed it with the commit message of project -001, create SQL schema. And that then pushed all of our changes up to, so that committed it. And then we did get pushed to origin project -001. And that pushed all of our changes up to GitHub. So now if I go over to GitHub, we see I have this notification that says project -001 has recently been pushed less than a minute ago. Well, now I can go over. Oh, let me refresh this real quick. Well, now if I click on the branches, we see that project -001 exists there. And if I click there, PostgreSQL MD is now included there. So let's say that I'm ready to commit this, or I'm ready to merge this with the main branch, and I want to make sure that I can merge it. Well, I need to add a reviewer first. So now to add a reviewer, I'm going to go back to my settings. The copy of the board is in the Tango channel and it's pinned to the top. Once I go back to my settings, I can go into Collaborators. And in Collaborators, I can click on Add People. And this is where I'll add all the collaborators that I need. So Tyler, if you're in here, could you put in the chat what your GitHub name is, please? It's going to be awkward if he's not in here. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now I can grab Tyler's name, look him up. There's Tyler. I can select him, add him as a collaborator. Once I add him as a collaborator, we'll see that I'm awaiting on his response. And Tyler's more than likely in the background approving it right now as we speak. So if I refresh it a couple of times, we'll more than likely be able to see it. When you say it's pinned to the top of the chat, do you mean the same places as the Zoom and Google Classroom link? That is correct. Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we can see that Tyler Koenig is a collaborator. And now that I know he's a collaborator, well, now I can click on pull request. And here I'll see this message saying project -001 had recent pushes less than 3 minutes ago. And I can say compare and pull request. Okay, create SQL schema. And then here in the description, I can specify, we're going to keep it informal just to make it simple. So I'm going to say created draw SQL outline of database schema. And once I have that, then I can go and create the pull request. The pull request has been created. Thank you for pointing that out. I'll clarify it here soon. Is there a question?
Norfolk.
Someone's on hot mic.
Okay, perfect. So now that I have this, I can go ahead and continue pushing forward. Sorry, I thought I just lost my whole train of thought. Oh, right. So we'll see that I created a pull request, but in my pull request, it's telling me that I need to I need to get a review in order to be able to merge my pull request with branch main. Well, I have a misspelling under SQL schema. So currently, Tyler's going to be reviewing I can request a review from Tyler here. We'll see if the review will be sent to Tyler, and then he'll come over and review my stuff. It now says that I requested it, so he'll click on it and tell me what's going on. Oh, so immediately we see, hey, you misspelled SQL, you silly goose. Okay, perfect. So now that I know that, well, I can go back to my VS code, change it into SQL. If I do get status, we'll see that something was modified. I can add that. And I can commit. Same thing, the name of the ticket first. And then what I did. So fix typo in SQL schema. And then I can push it back to origin project -001. And we'll see that my new changes have populated down here. So now I can tell Tyler, hey, I have fixed the issue. Didn't mean to put that in all caps, but oh well. All right, so it went in. Now Tyler's going to see that project 001 exists, and he's going to review it, see if I fix the issue and identify if I have anything else that's wrong with my schema. If I refresh it, it will tell me if he's currently still looking at it. Okay, so he resolved our conversation, meaning it's done. So should be expecting an approval here soon. Perfect. So now we see that Tyler has approved my branch. I now have one approval. And now it says that I have no conflicts to merge my branch with the main branch. So I could either do it here through GitHub, and I can just merge with my main branch, but let's do it through Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go ahead and change back into main. Oh, sorry. Check out main. And now we see that in main, the only thing that exists is project management README, and my SQL schema doesn't exist yet. So now let's merge it. And now we can say get merge project -001. Now we see the PostgreSQL was created. And now I can say get push origin main to push all of my changes over to main. Now, if I take a look at GitHub, we'll see that everything was merged. I can go take a look at my code, and now branch main has my PostgreSQL. You could go to your Trello board, move this card over, and then start working on the next one. Great. And that's just basically the entire review process and how it works. Just making sure I have it down. You create a branch and push the branch. Then on GitHub, create a pull request so you can merge. That is correct, Joshua. All right.
Is it safe to delete that branch after you're done merging in?
Yes, it is. So now I could do it from VS Code. I can say git branch -d and then project -001. Then it says delete branch.
Is there any reason to keep like your 2 or 3 most recent branches available? Is it just like, is it kind of like reset checkpoints, or is it just recommended to delete as you go to keep things clean?
So as far as checkpoints and for things to keep things clean, I'm not sure if you would want to keep how many branches back you would want to keep. I typically tend to just delete a branch once I'm done with it, because if for whatever reason, let's say there is something that I need to fix, well, I can take a look at my commit history. And, oh, that ain't it. That is also not it. Here you go, history. I can take a look at my commit history and we'll see that even though I merged the branch, both of the commits still exist, right? I deleted the branch that I used, but both of the commit processes still exist. So if I needed to go back, I could always get checkout on this commit, grab that information, maybe create a separate branch to fix things, and then deal with merge conflicts later on once I have to merge back with main. Does that answer your question, Jose?
It does. Thank you.
Of course, no problem. Some people never delete anything. That would make my OCD go nuts. Yeah, some people don't delete anything. Yeah, and let's see. So to answer Dan's questions about the goal. So just like the test, right? The problem with the test was the tests were too specific and kind of limited you guys to what you guys wanted to do. Well, now we adapted. And in this case, instead of telling you exactly what the goal is, we're leaving it up to you. What is the goal of this ticket? Obviously, it needs to create an SQL schema and it needs to have an application wireframe. But is there any other type of goals that you want to get included in there? How many models do you want it to have? What type of wireframe do you want it to look like? Do you want to turn it into Figma? Do you want to just use a regular drawing? For connecting Django to PostgreSQL, well, there's a goal that's kind of specified there for you. But I think it's a pretty obvious one, right? We want to make sure that we have a Django application. We want to make sure we have a React application that compiles into Django and that Django can render while also being connected to PostgreSQL. Create user authentication. All of these tickets are pretty straightforward. They don't necessarily need too much inside of a body. But if any of you have questions as to what you should do for each individual branch, please feel free to reach out and we'll all be available to speak with any of you at a moment's notice. So at this point, does anyone have any questions? And I'm sorry if you have a question in the chat, it's hard to differentiate what questions are and everything else that's going on in there.
I have a question in regards to our collaborators on GitHub. Will we have specific ones assigned to us, or will we be sort of based on our TA? We have those TA groups. How will that work?
You will not have a specific collaborator assigned to you. We will all be added into your branch or into your repository. A TA will be trying to keep track of an individual group, but that doesn't mean that it's only up to that TA to give you that feedback. So whenever you make that change or you make that push up to GitHub and make that pull request, you'll ping the TA, and then after pinging the TA will then let us know if anyone else needs to get in there and I guess conduct the pull request review for them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So will we just get a list of like emails that we can just add everybody to, or?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
No problem. Are the
Francis,
deadlines? Yeah, what's up?
I just had a quick question, but if you want to go with Chase's.
No, go ahead.
So the Trello board itself, is that something that we, like if we change it, you guys can see is like it's our individual Trello boards that you pin to the top of the chat?
No, so once you copy it, it's yours. You could alter it, you could change it in whatever way you would like. But when you make those pull requests, we will be ensuring that these are the goals that are being accomplished. Right. So as if I'm reviewing yours and let's say you named project -002 something completely different, what I'll be checking when you make the pull request for project -002 is that there's a Django, React, and PostgreSQL application that's fully connected inside of that repository. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Of course. And then for Dave, as far as the deadlines being hard or soft, they're soft deadlines. But if you take a look at the deadlines pretty much take us all the way up to the day right before the project is due. So if you just follow this along the entire way, you're going to be making good progress and you'll be in good route to actually be able to complete it. You could definitely submit them sooner rather than later. If you take longer in a certain spot, you take longer in a certain spot, so be it. But this way, we can also know if someone is, let's say, having problems with user authentication. Well, maybe we could hop in there and see what we could help with. This is all just intended to be able to benefit the students. Does that answer your question, Chase?
Yes, I appreciate it.
Of course. Any other questions? Okay, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.